Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna be reacting to
Why European tactics in NBA should be illegal.
NBA players have all the talent. Europeans, we all know not as much. That's why tactics here have to be on another level. Even JJ Redick admitted seeing how
So he not only travels, but he also does, I guess, just
podcast.
videos. I guess because we
Ah,
we haven't seen him on a video before. Like when
ah.
we saw him in Greece, it was our first time seeing him.
FIBA teams run their special plays shocked him.
The scripted plays for these teams in FIBA. It's like 5 different actions to get to one last thing that's what you're actually looking for. That to me was the craziest thing to watch.
But what happens when NBA coaches take the page from Europeans? Get ready for a video of some of the most creative schemes we have seen in the strongest basketball league. But before diving in, let's understand why we have such a difference. NBA offenses are amazing as they are at an all-time high numbers, but generally speaking, they are less complex than in Europe. That's not a knock on the NBA, absolutely not. Hear me out. In offense, all we often see is one action to get the player attacking downhill. It could be a classic pick and roll or Spain action with the back screen involved, or a slip screen, which usage has skyrocketed in the last 5 years. Because of a bigger court in the NBA, no defensive free second rule, that's usually enough to get the most athletic and the most skilled
I call
guys.
it's a fake out.
Figure.
Like I take the ball, I'm gonna throw it to you, but I don't throw it. I pass to someone else. I
On
know
the
this.
planet into a quality scoring situation. But in Europe, lower level of individual talent, smaller court, and different
Or
rules make
this
the
other strategy, you looking at the one, it's you. But then I hope that the person catches the ball when I throw it the other way.
offenses work harder. That's when coaches have to turn on their creativity thinking of ways to help them. As a result, we see one action on top of another followed by another wrinkle. And I can find thousands of examples. But today we're
A lot of movement though, not too much standing around.
going to talk about two coaches that are bringing that European flavor to the NBA, running plays that help NBA
Ooh.
talents to score easier. Quinn Snyder of the Atlanta Hawks and Will Hardy of the Utah Jazz. Quinn worked in Europe as an
Is it
assistant.
helping
Will
them?
worked
No.
as an assistant to Greg Popovich. That's as close to European style
I think the thing with you, the difference, the role of a coach is different in Europe. In Europe, coach is kind of like the head of the team. Here is the elite players, the big names. So
I
the big
see.
egos. I think it's just a little different.
of play as one can find in the NBA. Their teams have demonstrated some beautiful plays, and I'm here to show you 4 examples from each. Let's start with one of the youngest head coaches in the NBA, Will Hardy, and the Utah Jazz, who have surprised people with their performance last season. A team that was supposed to tank were in the top 8 for the most part of the year, and Hardy's schemes were a big reason why. Now, Jazz love 2 things, slip and flare screens. Here, they combine the 2. Dallas do a great job defending the first one, but watch Luka's position on the flare screen. He is in the help position preventing the drive. Exum gets caught watching the ball for a slight second, and that's more than enough time and space for a catch and shoot. It is hard to have great execution on tough schemes, but it makes it even harder for your opponents to know what's coming next. Here, Utah does exactly that. Catches a great defensive team like New York slacking. It looks like the same play we already saw to start, but after the first slip screen comes another. Markkanen pops and watch Julius Randle think they need to switch here, and it's a wide open high quality attempt for Lowry. And let's go back to the flare screen quickly. Will Hardy is making them popular in the NBA again. So simple yet so smart. Dribble handoff with the flare happening at the same time in the middle. Why it works? Guy who is defending the screen setter is usually the center. Centers in the NBA often play drop. In any case, they are responsible for rim protection. That's why JV is basically out of the picture here. Nothing
That's Valanciunas.
he can do here while standing in the paint. It's up for Reggie Jackson to fight over the pick, and normally you are late at least a little bit.
What
With
is your
NBA
favorite
court
move?
incredibly large, watch the amount of
Or which move you don't like? It
I
should be illegal.
usually just pick and pop.
Pick and pop was pick and
Yeah.
pop.
Set a screen and then go to the 3-point line.
empty area on the other side. On top, corner
Sometimes I pick and roll, but it, rolling, I'm not too tall, so I don't really have
What
much
roll?
business.
I
Go
don't
towards the
roll.
basket.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have
Aw.
much business there, when somebody's bigger than me is there.
guy cuts as the pass happens to prevent help from his defender. Dropping center does not block the passing lane too. Again, so simple, yet such an effective off-ball action from the Jazz. And they have a
What's interesting to me is like, why are these tactics considered European? Because I feel like all of these is just like basic basketball that we see all the time.
Oh.
I
You know what
don't.
I thought we were gonna see? strategically sending like people to like overcrowding on one player.
Oh, like double teaming?
I thought that's what we were gonna
Oh.
say.
Yeah, I don't know. These plays, like, when you watch the LeBron and JJ really well, now Steve Nash, Mind the Game podcast, they talk about this stuff. I don't. I mean, I don't know. It's just it doesn't come off to me as like, oh, this is like only Europeans play that way. I feel like NBA, and you clearly watching NBA players, play that way. I don't know.
A special wrinkle for display too, and it's absolutely wonderful, by the way.
In
Handoff, flare,
Europe, do they have the issues with the fake foul?
Flopping?
Yeah.
I think there would. Yeah, you can get a foul for like technical for flopping. I think so.
Cause I would think that, okay, you said here in the States it's much more easier to get points. Is it easier to get points in Europe if you get a technical foul and you just go to the free throw line and you take shots from there? Or
I think they maybe allow a little more contact in Europe, so you don't get fouled as much. I think so. I don't watch European basketball like that, but they do say that, oh, it's more physical.
cleaning the corner only to set a back screen, something the dropping center does not see coming. Look how he's concentrated on watching the ball. No bump, and it's the highest quality of shots Jazz can get. One more thing, the back screen is set by Lauri Markkanen, Utah's top offensive weapon. No wonder the Blazers don't show any desire to bump from him, letting him get open. Combining intelligent actions with your top strengths, that's why
because
Will Hardy
okay,
is
so how can you tell if a player has IQ? Yeah, or they're just playing without a game plan.
You have to watch the games, but when you watch the games, you see that what decision making is good or bad.
Because you know how football they have like a call, like okay, we're gonna do the runaround, and only their team know what a runaround is,
Right.
so they're ready to play based on the IQ and the strategy, based on what they think is gonna go down. But in basketball, do they have like a little like communication?
Yes, they do, but how? As I said, you can't tell it based on one play. You have to watch the whole game. If you see that they take bad shots, they don't pass the ball, they just make silly plays. You can, when you get the feel for the game, you kind of can tell if somebody has a good IQ or bad IQ.
Because what I noticed, like the first quarter, second quarter, there's not really much interesting going on.
Yeah.
But you really turn on for that fourth quarter. All of a sudden, you see people, they turn up the heat.
Yeah,
and
the second half,
that's when you see the real strategy.
Yeah.
already considered one of the best offensive minds in the NBA. Watch the amount of movement happening. Post entry is just a decoy, while there is a flare screen and a pin down on the weak side. Instead of forcing an ISO one-on-one, Jazz fooled the
I think Floyd, in the first few rounds, he's studying how you move.
Yeah.
So he's picking up and like studying you, reading you, and then you really see what's gonna happen at the end. So I wonder if it's the same here too.
No, they study film before the game.
They study film?
Yeah, so that's you're not gonna come up with nothing new in the middle of the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
defense by off-ball actions, something that Jelko Obradovic and Sharunas Jasikevičius, two European coaching greats, love to utilize in their playbooks as well. Before moving to Quinn Snyder, there's another play that made Will Hardy famous. A pick
So
and
they
roll
all
with
know
a
the
shallow
plays
cut.
they're
It
going
could
to
remind
do.
you the
Yeah.
Spain pick and roll a little bit, but the player simply cuts across, confusing the two defenders. And since the most common defense against Spain is to switch between guards, we see the same confusion here, leading to wide open shots later. Super smart scheme, which popularity has grown exponentially in the last couple of seasons. Before Will Hardy, Utah have an even more successful coach,
So
Quinn
what is
Snyder.
the
Their regular
strategy when
season
they say, "Oh, LeBron, he just does the game by himself"? There's no implementation of strategy with the other players, or he just decides.
It
"I'm
is,
just
but
playing
kind
myself."
of the game plan is give LeBron the ball and just react on based on what he does. Whereas when like in European basketball, it's more so it's predetermined action by the coach already what play we're gonna run. And here, like when you have a player like LeBron, Luka, you just kind of give them the ball and they dribble and until they figure out what to do.
So what do you think went wrong? Because now they out in the season.
LeBron is old and they don't have a center.
I saw that he fell, and it looked like he hurt.
He hurt his knee, yeah, but he's old. They don't have a center. There's a bad roster.
success wasn't a coincidence. Their offense was as smooth as it can get. For starters,
and
let's
center is
examine
very
this action that
essential.
starts with Clarkson setting a pick for Conley, who then plays a pick and roll with Gobert. As it evolves, the main play is actually Clarkson
ask
getting it
how I know
staggered.
center
And
is very
usually, if someone
important?
gets stopped,
Yes. because when we do the Greek reactions or the war, the center is very important. Same in basketball.
Okay.
The
And
defender
same in
of a
football
second
too. The
screen
quarterback,
must
he sits in the
switch.
center.
Yes, the centers protect the counter quarterback. Yeah.
But watch the center worried at the same time about Conley's drive. He doesn't even see the stagger being played. Clarkson can run out, get the advantage, and either shoot or attack the closeout with ease. Snyder and his amazing plays were already the talk of the town in Utah, but recently his smarts went viral. Now in Atlanta, Snyder ran Spain pick and roll with Bogdanovic slipping the back screen and the center turning around and setting a flare screen for him. All of that while cleaning one corner for the Serbian to have the entire left side for himself. Why it's so genius, you ask me? As I already mentioned, the most common defense against Spain is the switch between guards. That's why this flare screen made so much sense. It blocks the path for the defender. Genius. Even their opponent in this game, Tyrese Halliburton and JJ Redick, were amazed by it afterwards.
I think Quinn's a genius, but
Oh, I saw it.
they cleared out the corner.
Atlanta's coach could be called the master of Spain pick and roll wrinkles. He is taking this already hard to guard
That's
action
pretty
into
impressive.
another level. With prolific shooter Trae Young holding the ball, watch the opposing bigs glue to the screener. That way they are ready to
think
contain Trae. Knowing
In
that
the
Snyder's
game, there's still people who are playing without the IQ.
Yes.
Really? I feel like they would get cut
Nah.
immediately.
A lot of has to do with height. If you're tall, you know.
Oh.
scheme is the following.
So
Trae
height
gives
can
up the
trump
ball
IQ.
before using any picks, and
Height and athleticism skills.
Oh.
Bogdanovic, another great shooter, sets the back pick for the center, and this is what no one expects. Again, no team wants to bump from a great shooter like him, as it gives wide open dunks for Okongwu. Okay, you are maybe wondering why they're giving up dunks. That ain't cool, right? Here's what happens when you do bump. Bogdanovic is wide open for a three-pointer. Okay, this time he misses, but this action is just next level stuff. It's so hard to guard. Just as this next clip you're about to see with your team season on the line. Okay, imagine the scenario. Your team is down 3-2, you're losing by 2 points, and you have 4 seconds to save your job and your team's season. No pressure. It better be a good freaking play. And Quinn Snyder delivered. Only for Bojan Bogdanovic,
Wow.
team's best shooter, to miss
Whole lot
a
of screening
completely
going on.
wide open shot.
Ball fake. Bogdanovic misses on a
Oh.
three ball, and it's over.
Let's rewind back. Conley moves to the right. Mitchell runs around Clarkson
I
only
remember
to set
this
a pick
play.
for Bojan.
I
Knowing
watched
the
this game.
Mavs and other 28 teams in the NBA would switch on this last pick, watch Snyder instruct Clarkson to hold his man the entire possession. Bojan flares away with Clarkson screening as Utah's spacing opens up the most space I have ever seen on a game-winning shot attempt in NBA's history. Too bad the creation misses and Snyder resigns later, ending his 8-year tenure as the franchise's head coach. Not that it helps, but hey, he at least went out by designing one of the most beautiful plays to potentially win the game. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to press like.
That sucks.
It is what it is.
I mean, you shouldn't get fired for that.
No, he. It wasn't just that. It was
So what was it?
he had a good roster. He was with the team for a long time, and they didn't.
They're not shooting the ball in.
No, they didn't really accomplish nothing. They were supposed to be like the next
would-
its team, but they
Uh-huh.
couldn't. They couldn't
Who
break,
stopped
break the
them?
ice. I don't know exactly who, but they just would keep bouncing first, second round of the playoffs.
Mm. Can I see the comments?
I've been trying to explain this to people that can't understand. I prefer watching EuroLeague or Spanish language rather than NBA. Tactics and offense as well as defense. EU has defense, NBA does not. EU calls travel, the NBA does not. EU players are forced to teamwork at every step of the way, whereas NBA screams individualism. US players are more athletic because they are forcibly pushed through a monetarized sports franchise. Maybe monetized, that's what we meant. Sports franchise system with a secondary as a school system. The actual students are only there to build up life crippling debt, mind you. Ooh, I mean, there is some truth to that.
Wow, that is pretty cool. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And always, always, always share as much kindness as possible.